What's going on, guys? It's Reflex, and today we're back with another March Madness picks and prediction video. I'm going to try to make these a little bit quick as possible, just to keep things really simple. I'll only cover up a few bullet points of each of these games, but for now, let's get into the picks. Auburn versus the winner of, I don't know either of these teams. St. Francis, I'm going to guess this one's St. Francis. Both of them are just winners of their conference. I think Auburn's having a good year. We'll pick Auburn. Creighton versus Louisville is a tough matchup, 8 and 9. Either one could win. I'm going to pick Creighton to win this game. Michigan versus UC San Diego. UC San Diego have an amazing year. It would not surprise me if they pulled this upset. I think they have a good chance at it, but Michigan, they just find a way to win close games. And if they keep this game close, I think they will win, which I believe will happen. Texas A&M versus Yale. I've seen Yale in this tournament. I think I've seen Yale win a game before. Texas A&M, I think they'll be good enough just to get by and win this game. Ole Miss versus the winner of San Diego State and North Carolina. Both these teams I like. Ole Miss is doing okay. They didn't perform very well in the SEC tournament. It doesn't mean they can't win, but I'm going to pick the winner of San Diego State and North Carolina to win this game. I think either of these teams can take Ole Miss in the way I see it. Next, we have Iowa State versus Lipscomb. I'm going to pick Iowa State. Lipscomb, I mean, you can't really rule them out too much. They have a solid shooter in Jacob, averaging 20 points a game, but then it goes to 13, and it's just, I mean, you could see it happening, but I don't. I think Iowa State's going to win this game. Next, we have Marquette versus New Mexico. I really like New Mexico, and I think Marquette's actually a little bit overrated this year at 23 and 10, not playing in a very strong conference. And I mean, honestly, if I had to come down to a shooter that I'd pick, Cam Jones or Donovan Dent, I'm picking Donovan Dent. I think they can do well. I think they can upset Marquette in this tournament. Next, we have Michigan State and Bryant. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I think Michigan State's a solid team from the Big Ten. I think they will take Bryant. Let's go down to the West. We have Florida versus Norfolk State. Florida looked really good in that SEC tournament, and they've kind of looked good throughout the year. They've pulled some really good upsets. Now, have they lost games they shouldn't? Yes, they have. But this team looks really good. I think they can make a good run in the tournament. UConn versus Oklahoma. UConn not having the greatest year, especially in that ACC tournament. I'm not high on them, but I'm also not high on Oklahoma either. I think either of these teams can win the game. The line is UConn, which is very interesting. It likes UConn to win this game. I think I'm going to pick UConn to win. Connecticut in the tournament has been really solid, but let's keep going. Memphis versus Colorado. I am not big on Memphis. They just don't look consistent. Now, do I think they'll lose against Colorado State? No, I don't. I think Memphis will find a way to win this game and move on. Next, we have Maryland versus Grand Canyon. I think this will be the biggest upset pick so far. I'm going to pick Grand Canyon. Now, Maryland, they are not a bad team at all. But a 4 seed as a 25 and 8 team doesn't seem that realistic to me. I think they got seeded way too high. They're okay. They're a really solid team. I think they could win games, but Grand Canyon, they are going to come into this game ready. I see that happening. Am I saying Maryland can't win? No, I think Maryland could definitely win this game. But I think Grand Canyon is going to want this game, so I'm going to pick them to upset Maryland. Next, we have Missouri versus Drake. Drake is a sleeper team, the way I see them. They have a few key wins this year, but so does Missouri. You know, I mean, we all thought at the beginning of the season that Missouri's win over Kansas was huge. It doesn't look that way to me. I'm actually not big on Kansas at all, but we'll go into that here in a few more games. I'm going to pick Drake to win. I mean, if his shooter, what's his name? Oh yeah, Sturts. Man, if he gets going, they're not going to lose. Now, Missouri is a really good team. So it's hard not to pick Missouri to win this game. They had a really solid year in the SEC. I'm going to pick the upset. I'm going to pick Drake over Missouri. Texas Tech over UNC Williamington, I believe it's how you pronounce it. I'm going to pick Texas Tech to win this game. Texas Tech's a really solid team out of the Big 12. I think they could make a run in this tournament. Next, we have Kansas versus Arkansas. I know this may seem a bit quick. I'm going to pick Arkansas to win this game, guys. Arkansas can definitely pull it. Kansas is just having an off year, and you can just tell by the physicality of the team. I like Arkansas to win. I think Bill Self has a chance to turn Kansas around, maybe, in this tournament. I don't see it. I'll admit I don't, so I'm going to pick Arkansas. St. John's versus Omaha. What a year for St. John's, going 30 and 4. Granted, in their conference, not too impressive, but they are a solid team and they know how to win their games that they're supposed to win. They play Omaha, a team that, I mean, I'm sure they're going to be very happy to be here. First time winning their conference, I think, ever, from what I saw. I'm going to pick St. John to win this game. Next, we have Duke versus American, or gosh, I don't know the name of that school. Duke is a great team with or without Cooper Flagg. Now, granted, if Cooper Flagg is playing, they're probably going to win the whole tournament, but we'll go into that later. Mississippi State versus Baylor. I love this Baylor team, and the reason I do is because one, they're under a national championship head coach, and two, they're a young team. They're going to make slips and mistakes. I mean, they were down by 30 to Kansas and then ended up winning by 20. Like, you just got to give kids like this time, and I mean, they can be really good if you let them. Is Mississippi State physical? Yes, they are. I like Baylor in this game. I think they'll win. Next, we have Oregon versus Liberty. I'm not really that high on either of these teams. I'm going to pick Oregon to win. It's kind of a blind pick. I don't know too much about them. I don't watch them very often. Both seem to have solid. I mean, 24-9 again, 5 seed. That feels a little bit high. But and a 28-6 Liberty. I mean, they don't play in a tough conference, but again, also low scoring teams. I'm going to pick Oregon to win this one. I think the coaching staff at there will be good enough to be able to take care of Liberty. Next, we have Arizona over Akron. Arizona's been kind of an up and down team, but I'm going to pick Arizona to win this game. BYU versus VCU. BYU, they are on a hot streak. They had not lost until Houston, and they did lose pretty handedly by 20, but I think that adversity they kind of needed. They won 9 in a row to finish off their year, and then they finally lost to Houston, which ended up winning the Big 12. I'm going to pick BYU to take on VCU. They'll be just fine. Next, we have Wisconsin versus Montana. I don't really know too much about Montana, but I do know Wisconsin knows how to win their basketball games, especially the ones that they're supposed to win this year. I'm going to pick them to win. St. Mary's and Vanderbilt, I am not high on this conference. I think it's West Coast Conference. Not high on them at all this year. Now, SEC, however, they are a lot better this year. Are they a little overrated? I think so. But Vanderbilt shows that they can win games when they need to. They've won a few really good games this year, including Tennessee. They've won solid games. I like Vanderbilt in this game over St. Mary's. I don't think a lot of teams from the West Coast are going to go very far. Next, we have Alabama versus Robert Morris. Alabama, I mean, they're just really good. I mean, they feel a little inconsistent. I mean, they should have taken Auburn at home, but they ended up winning against them on the road. So it's kind of tough to kind of gauge this Alabama team. But overall, I like them. They're a good team. Robert Morris, I wouldn't rule them completely out. I think they're going to come into this game wanting to fight because they've definitely played in this tournament before. I'm going to pick Alabama to win, though. Houston is a really good team once again this year, and I kind of hope they win the whole tournament this year because the head coach has not gotten one for them at Houston yet. I think they'll be fine just fine against, I think it's Southern. I don't know. I have no idea where that team is from. Which I feel kind of bad about, but not really. Again, opening line is a near 30-point favorite. I think Houston will be just fine this game. Georgia and Gonzaga is a really tricky game. I think both of these teams are overrated, but Gonzaga did win their conference. Georgia's just a solid team out of the SEC. Gonzaga, when they are hot, they can get really hot really quick. I'm going to pick Gonzaga to beat Georgia in this game. Clemson versus McNeese, exact same record, but two different conferences. I think the spread's actually a little bit high for this game. I like McNeese to cover that. They're a solid team. When they get going, they look hard to stop. They've shown it in years past. I'm going to pick Clemson, though. I feel a little bit more comfortable with that pick. They have a lot more hype behind them. I'm sure it seems like they're one of those growing teams, but they're kind of on the rise in basketball. Next, we have High Point and Purdue. A 4 seed out of the Big Ten being 22-11 makes no sense to me. Now, does that mean they can't beat High Point? No. But this is very wrong. They should not be a 4 seed. But High Point, they've had a good year. Now, do they have great shooters? No. This tells me that they are led by coaching, which don't rule out High Point in this game. It's a tough pick. I really want to pick High Point. It's very, very tempting, especially with Purdue not having the best record when it comes to tournaments in the past. Purdue versus High Point. Once again, I'm not very high on Purdue. They have not had a good year. High Point, however, has. So this is really going to depend on the coaching and just the energy of the team in general. Tempting pick. I'm going to go with High Point. This is a bit of a dangerous pick, 13 over 4 seed, but I like High Point in this game. Next, we have Illinois versus the winner of Texas and Xavier. Man, is Texas on a mission or what? Man, they just keep finding a way to just stay in that conversation and be in March, and look, they're here. Now, how far are they going to go is really up to them. I think Texas can win a lot of games in this tournament, but if they don't get it in gear, they will not win any game in this tournament. It's a tough pick. I'm going to pick Texas over Illinois. Now, if it's Xavier, I think Illinois will win. This is the other side here. If it's Texas, I think they'll find a way to beat Illinois, just not Xavier. So kind of a hard pick, but I'm going to pick Texas to move on to the round of 32. Next, we have Kentucky versus Troy. Troy, I don't know about this one, man. Once again, this is completely led by coaching to get them here. I'm going to pick Kentucky. They're not the best team in the SEC by any means, but Troy, having that kind of record and not a Power 4, Power 5 conference doesn't really satisfy my idea of them winning very much. So I'm going to pick Kentucky to win. Utah State is a sleeper team this year to me. Now, are they better than UCLA? I don't know. This is hard. I haven't watched either team that much this year. I'm going to pick the upset, though. I've heard more about Utah State than UCLA. That's the only thing I'm going to go off of here. UCLA could surprise me. They could win this game, and they could even make a run, but I'm going to pick Utah State to win this game. Next, we have Tennessee and Wofford. This is interesting because Wofford, in the first game of the tournament, I believe it was within 10 years ago. I remember watching this. One of their shooters went 11 of 12 from 3, which is insane for anybody to do, and they ended up winning that first round. But that second game, again, he went ice cold. He didn't hit any 3. So very interesting. I mean, obviously not the same athletes, but they made it in. Do they have a leading score? They do. Just 14.3 to 11.9, so not anything crazy. Tough one, but I really like Tennessee. Tennessee's a good team. They don't seem to be elite, but they're really good. Tough pick. I'm gonna pick Tennessee. I think these 15 and 2s, man, they're tricky because you always see one. You always see a 15 over a 2. It just has to happen. If I were to pick one, it's definitely Wofford. I think they can do it, especially if they have the same coach they had in that same year. Tough pick, but I'm going to go with them. Finally, to the round of 32. Auburn versus Creighton. Great game, great matchup. I'm going to pick Auburn to win just because they have more seniors. Next, we have Michigan, Texas A&M. Not too high on either of these teams, but Michigan has shown they win close games, and I'm going to pick them to do it again. San Diego State or North Carolina versus Iowa State. Tough pick. I'm going to pick Iowa State. Michigan State versus New Mexico. Both these teams are solid. Once again, a tough pick. New Mexico shooter. Yeah, he's electric. I'm going to pick Mike Elko in Michigan State to take him and move on. It's a really hard one to pick, though. Florida versus UConn. Like I said before, I like this Florida team. UConn, they're just having kind of an off year. You can't really rule them out when it comes to March because they have shown they won 2 national championships back to back. I'm going to pick Florida. Memphis versus Grand Canyon. This is the perfect opportunity for Grand Canyon, and I think they will take it. They will be the Cinderella. They'll make it to the Sweet 16 against Florida. Drake versus Texas Tech. Texas Tech is too well defensive of a team. Okay. Next, we have Arkansas versus St. John. Tough one. And I mean tough. I mean, I almost picked Omaha to maybe pull something off here. I don't think they would. But Arkansas, they are a high-powered team. It is really hard to choose this game. But St. John has just shown that they can win games. So it's really hard to pick against them. I'm going to pick St. John to take down Arkansas. Move on to the Sweet 16. We have Duke versus Baylor. What a game. I believe that if Cooper Flagg does not play in this game, Baylor will win. Now, that is a very bold statement. It's tough. Very tough. I mean, you got another player in the ESPN 100. Con Newpel. It's tough, man. But Duke is such a good team. I mean, if I knew if Cooper Flagg was playing or not, it'd make the pick a little easier. For now, I'm going to go with Duke. I'm going to stick with the overall 1 seed. At least I think they're the overall 1 seed, especially if Cooper Flag is playing. Tough pick, but I'm going to pick them to win over Baylor because I just love the young guys at Baylor. They have a bright future. Oregon versus Arizona. I like Arizona as a basketball team, kind of. I mean, they're kind of iffy, but I think I like them in this game over Oregon. I'm going to pick them to win. BYU versus Wisconsin. Man, if BYU, if they keep that effort that they have in the glass to the back half of the season, they just keep fighting to like be better as a team, I think they'll take Wisconsin. I'm going to pick BYU to win that game. Next, we have Vanderbilt and Alabama. Man, SEC, tough conference this year. I want to pick Alabama to beat Vanderbilt, though. Let's go to the next one. We have Houston and Gonzaga. Kind of a sneaky game. Like I said, I think the West Coast Conference is a bit down this year. I want to pick Houston to take Gonzaga. I think they'll be just fine, especially a few years ago when I think Gonzaga took Houston out of the tournament. I could be wrong on that, but I feel like that's happened before. High Point versus Clemson. That team I picked to beat Purdue, they won't make it against Clemson. I think High Point will have that one win and then just exit early. Bit of a random pick. I think High Point, they're just going to be really too happy over their win over Purdue to be able to advance more than the round of 32. Texas or Xavier versus Kentucky. Once again, I think this will depend on who wins this game. I think if Texas wins, they'll beat Kentucky. And again, that's very bold, but I like Texas. I think they'd move on to the Sweet 16. Tennessee versus Utah State. I like Tennessee in this game. I think they'll be just fine. I think they'll move on to the Sweet 16. This tournament isn't very easy this year. So I could be wrong. But next we have the first game, Auburn versus Michigan. Michigan just finding a way to win close games. But do I think they'll beat Auburn? No. I think Auburn will win this game. Just the seniority and the veterans of this team. Are they the best ever? No, not even close. They have lost some games they really shouldn't have. But I'm going to pick them to beat Michigan. I think they'll be ready for this. The March Madness tournament. Next, we have Iowa State versus Michigan State. What a game. And I mean, what a game. I would love to see this happen. Tough call. Make it quick. I'm going to pick Iowa State to beat Michigan State. I think Iowa State and TJ Otzelberger, they'll find a way, especially if Iowa State can get one of their injured players back, which I think they'll have enough time to. We will see. This will be a very interesting Elite Eight. Florida versus Grand Canyon. This is where the Cinderella story comes to an end. I'm going to pick Florida to win against Grand Canyon. Not too much explanation there. Just Florida, once again, I like them. Really good team. Next, we have Texas Tech versus St. John. I'm going to pick Texas Tech to win this game. I know it's a bit far-fetched, but I just love the defensiveness of Texas Tech. They just play really sound defensively. They will find a way to win this game, and they will move on to the Elite Eight. Next, we have Duke versus Arizona. Pretty solid game. Once again, if Flag isn't playing, I think Arizona would win this game. Arizona's a solid team, especially when they're playing good. Like, they just made it to the championship of the Big 12. They're not a team to be overlooked. But I'm going to pick Duke to win this game because I think Cooper Flag's going to make it back. We will see. BYU versus Alabama. Whew. Talk about a team that's hot. Both these teams feel hot. Right? I don't know. I like BYU in this game. I'm going to keep it real. I do. I like BYU a lot in this game. I think they could grind their way out, especially to keep that hustle. Now, it also depends on Alabama shooting. If Alabama plays lights out shooting, they'll win this game. But if they can't make shots, BYU will win this game. And I'm going to pick BYU to win this game. Their effort and hustle is really, really good. I would not be sleeping on them. Next, we have Houston versus Clemson. I think Houston's going to be just fine once again. I think Houston's kind of chasing destiny this year. This is a solid team. Let's keep going, though. Texas or Xavier versus Tennessee. I'm going to pick Tennessee to end this one short. Again, Texas, such a great team. I mean, they could surprise me. They could make it. If they did make it all the way this far and play Tennessee, I think it'd be a great game. I'm going to pick Tennessee to win this game and move on to the Elite Eight. The games that pick the Final Four. Auburn versus Iowa State. What a matchup. Really depends on Auburn. I mean, there's already a preview. Let's take a look here. That's tough. Very tough. I'm going to pick Auburn to go. I'm going to pick Auburn to win their region and make it to the Final Four. I don't know. It's tough. And it's only tough because I think Iowa State's a really good team, but they've shown signs of weakness this year. Auburn has too, but Auburn has played in a slightly better conference. But I think they can rebound off of their loss in the SEC tournament, and they will make it to the Final Four. Next is Florida versus Tech. What a game. This should be good. And I mean good. I think this score is going to be in the 70s. Florida has never met a defense like Texas Tech. And if Texas Tech wants this, they will get it. However, Florida is so potent on offense, it is very hard to pick against them. But I'm going to pick Texas Tech. I don't know. It's a gut feeling. Florida, I love this Florida team. Do not get me wrong. I do. But I like Texas Tech more. I think their defense, if they show up, they will win this game. So let's keep going. Next, we have Duke versus BYU. Again, this all depends on Flag. If Flag is in this game, I can definitely see them winning. Kind of a mix of blues. I kind of like it. I'm going to pick Duke to win this game. I think they'll win their region. They'll make it. However, if they don't, I think it'll be Baylor that takes them. That'd be very interesting. Next, we have Houston versus Tennessee. What a game. I like this game. I'd love to watch this game. I'm going to pick Houston to win this game, and they're going to make it to the Final Four. 2 Big 12 teams, 1 SEC and 1 ACC in the Final Four. Tough game between Auburn and Texas Tech. I'm going to pick Auburn to win this game. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I think Auburn is they're a very senior team. They'll learn their way around Texas Tech in a very potent defense. They'll make it to the championship game. Duke versus Houston. Oh my God. This is a fantastic game. I would love to watch this. Probably the best game you could watch out of any game in this tournament if it does end up happening. I like Houston. I think the seniors are going to want this. I think the coaches are going to want this game. I'm going to pick Houston versus Auburn in the national championship. And I'm going to pick Houston to win the national championship. They're finally going to get their national championship win. The total score, I don't know. This one's a tough one. I'm going to go with 140. 70 average. That'll be fine. But that wraps up the video. So if you guys like the video, please leave a like and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.